WYMT Mountain News Weekend Edition.
Good evening, I'm Keaton Hall. More gun violence is rattling multiple communities across the U.S. this weekend. In Texas, at least 9 teens are recovering following a shooting at an after-prom party. In Washington, D.C., at least 8 people, including a 12-year-old, were injured in back-to-back shootings Friday night. The latest violence comes as 3 Tennessee lawmakers who've been in the headlines get set to meet with President Joe Biden to discuss the future of gun reform. Shelley Malashi has the latest.
In Washington, D.C., police are searching for suspects in back-to-back shootings Friday night that left 8 people wounded, including a 12-year-old girl.
We're looking for a black sedan, possibly a Mercedes, who witnesses say drove through the block and indiscriminately fired upon the individuals here on the bomb.
In Texas, authorities are investigating a shooting north of the town of Jasper that sent at least 9 teens to the hospital Sunday morning. It happened just after midnight at a home during an after-prom party. According to police, the victims range in age from 15 to 19 years old. The investigation there is ongoing. And on Monday, the so-called Tennessee Three, the lawmakers who drew national attention after protesting for stricter gun laws in the wake of Nashville's deadly school shooting last month, are set to meet with President Biden to talk about the gun crisis in America.
I think that we need emergency response because we're facing a crisis situation, and that in states like ours, we need help from our national leaders.
It is also to think about beyond executive orders, what other authority exists within departments and agencies that the president is ultimately responsible for.
According to a recent survey by the Kaiser Family Foundation, worry and fear about gun violence are widespread in the United States, adding more than 1 in 5 adults has had a family member killed by a gun, including suicide. I'm Shelley Malashi reporting.
There have been more mass shootings than days so far this year, and more shootings than at this point in any year since at least 2013. The Federal Drug Enforcement Administration recommends proper disposal of any unused prescription drugs, but in some cases it might be best to finish off the medication. The federal agency says infection-fighting medications should be finished off unless a doctor recommends you to stop. Pharmacist Jennifer Dutton says to not just rely on how good you may feel physically.
It's important because we're treating these infections, and so that even just because you're feeling better symptomatically doesn't mean that the infection's actually cleared. So with those cases, that's why it's important to finish the medications.
In the case that you have to stop using a prescribed medication, there are locations where you can safely dispose of them, which can be found on the Drug Enforcement Administration's website. We've got an update regarding the fire out at Natural Bridge State Park. According to the U.S. Forest Service, the wildfire is 80% contained at 125 acres. Saturday's rain helped increase those numbers and gave some relief to crews battling the fire. The U.S. Forest Service says they have reopened Bark Camp Trail number 413 in the entirety of Section 27 of the Sheltowee Trace National Recreation Trail. Red River Gorge also remains open. Race enthusiasts from beyond the mountains and within them came out to take part in the Pine Mountain Hill Climb event in Bell County this weekend. Today marked the last day of the 3-day event, which is part of the Appalachian Hill Climb series. Event organizers say the hill climbs impact local tourism in a big way, which several of the racers say they're happy to be a part of.
It's relatively close to a lot of metropolitan areas in the area, so you're going to have people coming in from all directions. And the reality from economic development standpoint, we all come in, stay in hotels, have dinner at the local restaurants. The two of us are spending a whole week here that it's almost like a vacation that otherwise we wouldn't be doing if it wasn't for this.
This weekend's Hill Climb event brought in people from all over the country and even brought in racers from Canada and Europe.
Well, we stay chilly as we close out your weekend, and that will continue into early next week as well. We do have a freeze warning and a frost advisory across the mountains tonight. A freeze warning for our western counties in that purple color. The rest of us in that frost advisory, and that will last into Monday morning. So be sure to protect those plants as we go overnight tonight. Most of us in the middle to lower 40s right now. A few upper 30s though at this hour. 39 for Williamsburg, also 39 over in Wise, 42 42 for Jackson and 42 in Pikeville as well. But temperatures, they are going to tumble as we go overnight into the lower 30s for most of us, but some people could see upper 20s, especially in those cooler pockets. So a chilly night is on the way across the region. So be sure to give yourself some extra time as you wake up and walk out the door on your Monday morning, because some frost is going to be possible. The good news though, we are dry up on radar tonight, and that will continue as we go overnight and also into early next week, all thanks to high pressure. But we are tracking some changes, all that and more coming up in just a little bit. Keaton?
Cameron, I thought we were done with the frost, but I guess not quite yet. This weekend, campaigning for the 2024 Republican nomination was already underway, with former President Donald Trump participating remotely at an event in Iowa. But several potential challengers were also making their case for new leadership in the White House, and some could formally enter the race this week. Bradley Blackburn has more.
And I will continue to fight for our values.
Former President Donald Trump spoke via video to the Iowa Faith and Freedom Coalition Saturday night.
When we become the very important 47th president of the United States.
But some of his potential challengers for the Republican nomination were there in person, with the subject of abortion front and center.
The Supreme Court didn't turn the issue of abortion over to the states. They turned it over to the American people.
Former Vice President Mike Pence says he will finalize his plans within weeks, but former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson will announce his campaign Wednesday.
Our best opportunity is to have a new face, someone with consistent conservative leadership.
The lies of the left have been disproven by my life.
South Carolina Senator Tim Scott is also expected to enter the race, and so is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who spoke in Utah Saturday at a Republican event.
Leaders take the bull by the horns and make the decisions for themselves.
Former President Trump was in Florida rallying supporters at a pizza place. Even as he faces criminal charges in New York and multiple other investigations, he has a powerful hold on some voters.
I'm on the Trump train all the way.
The GOP nominee is likely to face President Biden in 2024. Multiple sources tell CBS News the president may formally announce his re-election bid this week. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Sources tell CBS News President Biden could announce Tuesday via a video message. That is the anniversary of when he announced his 2020 bid for the White House. A change at the top of NBC Universal. Jeff Shell announced Sunday he's leaving the company after an investigation determined he had an inappropriate relationship with a woman. Shell issued a statement that said he regretted his actions. He also apologized to his colleagues. Shell joined the company 19 years ago, became CEO in 2020. He held other positions at NBC that included content creation, programming, and distribution. Shell helped to oversee the debut of NBC's streaming service Peacock, which surpassed 20 million subscribers at the end of last year. Apple is reportedly developing a new personal journaling app. Wall Street Journal reporters say they have viewed documents about the new app. Documents say the new electronic journal is part of Apple's desire to compete in the market for mental and physical health technology. Apple's app will have access to a lot more user data than other apps already on the market, including text messages and phone calls. The app is set to work with all iPhone hardware that comes with Apple's upcoming operating system release of iOS 17. Coming up at 11. Pent-up demand could lead to an extra busy travel season this summer.
Plus, another chilly night is on tap across the region. A freeze warning is in place for some areas. All those details coming up next.